All right, so we continue with our microeconomics. Now we're at chapter 7. Okay? And 7.1 was production function. You ready? Okay. So production function included, let's see what? Inputs, outputs, then the production process of converting inputs to outputs. Okay. The two primary inputs were labor and capital, but we also had technology and land, possibly resources like natural resources. The inputs were fixed and inputs were variable. If all resources are variable, they're in the long run, but in the short run, one or a few of those resources, those inputs are fixed. Usually fixed is the capital, especially the big capital expenditures. Then we had a production function, and I showed you how the production function, the output depends on the inputs. At first it rises slowly, then it rises steeply, and then it slows down. When it begins to slow down, meaning it can't grow fast, you're reaching the limits of your capacity. Okay? It applies to labor, it applies to capital, and it applies to joint. Then in 7.2, we discussed total, marginal, and what was the other one? Average. And now I'll write it here in red color. I'll write it in red color. The word is product. We are talking only about product, as in number of glasses, number of books, number of phones. Now, in the next chapter, next week, we'll be talking about total product average costs. In other words, now we talk about technology and real product. Here we will introduce prices. So nowhere I talked yesterday about prices at all. So I also covered an important concept of output elasticity. When you change a unit of input, 1%, how many percent the output changes. And we discussed the law of diminishing returns. Your input is time during the quiz, and the output is the quiz itself. Okay? For the first 10 minutes, you write a lot and you earn a lot of points. For the next 10 minutes, you probably earn less. For the third 10 minutes, you earn little. Now, you can get 1 extra hour and probably you will earn maybe half a point, maybe a quarter. In other words, you can get more and more and more time, but your score isn't going to go up a lot. It goes up a lot for the first 10 or 15 minutes, okay? So, for the first 10 minutes, you could earn 5 points. For the second hour, you may earn 0.5, 10 times less. So this is the law of diminishing returns. In other words, it is not worth putting the time, the effort to earn 10 out of 10. Okay, because the cost from 9 to 10 is extremely high. Okay, it's too much time, too much effort, too hard. Okay, not very efficient. Okay, it's a lot easier to earn 9 on economics and 9 on statistics than earning 10 on economics and 8 on statistics. Okay, it's a lot easier to have more balanced approach. So we finally finished with stages of labor. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 1 was the early stage where you still have very rapidly rising productivity. Stage 2 was somewhere close to the peak where it's still very optimal. And stage 3 you actually have a negative productivity. Negative productivity means that the marginal product of labor was negative. One more worker did not help in any way. You can think of a nice little small shop, whatever, and let's say a tiny little supermarket like the corner store. They call them in English convenience store. And then have 5, 6, 7 guys in there trying to sell. Well, the second guy isn't going to help much a lot. The third guy is pretty much nothing. Now, the fourth and fifth guy are already just going to be crowding too much in the store. All right, so 7.3 becomes optimal use of one of the variable input, one variable input. So, one input optimal use. Well, for the first time now, we're beginning to add a little bit of prices. So, we have the marginal revenue product. Now let's see how this one is defined. Equals the marginal product of labor. So this becomes MRP is the marginal product, let's say of labor, multiplied by the marginal revenue. So again, this is amazingly simple. You have, let's say, 3 workers, and 3 workers, let's say, produce 8 units. And then you have 4 workers producing 12 units. For 1 unit of labor, extra unit of labor, the output is plus 4. The marginal product is 4. Okay. And if you sell each product at a price of, let's say, 10, which is, let's say, the marginal revenue, becomes 40. So, that's, again, remarkably simple. You just say, well, how many extra units produces the labor? Well, 4 extra units. And what's the revenue per unit? Gives you the marginal product of labor. The next one is marginal resource cost. No, next, again, I will be explaining now. Marginal revenue product, marginal resource cost. Now, here we meant labor, and here we mean labor. Again, what I'm doing now is what I explained last time and what I explained in the first lecture, which is an application of, let me write it out again, marginal analysis. Did you get marginal analysis on your quiz?
Yes.
Yes. Let's see what you remember or wrote on your quiz about marginal analysis. What is marginal analysis?
That was the question I asked you about.
Okay, well, that's the question that I'll explain again. Marginal analysis is a special type of economic analysis which compares the marginal benefit to the marginal cost. So you have marginal benefit, and you compare it to marginal cost. In this particular case, of one extra worker. So, what is going to cost me one extra worker? Well, the marginal resource cost is simply the wage equals to W. Just the wage. In other words, it's just one salary. 1 day salary or 1 month salary. That's the cost. That's the cost. Now, technically, it is the total cost of labor, okay, change in total cost divided by change in labor. In other words, if you increase the labor by 1 unit, what is going to be the change in total cost? But it just happens that labor you can hire at pretty much the fixed cost, where it's simply the wage of one worker. So change of labor means for one worker, well, how much is the total cost going to increase for one worker? The wage. Okay? So we got the marginal benefit. So this marginal revenue product, this marginal benefit is the marginal revenue product, and this marginal cost is the MRC. MRC. Okay? Now, this type of marginal analysis you will see a lot everywhere in business. You'll study at least 10, 20 times, which is called cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis. Now, on one of the quizzes, maybe the first one, second one, I also asked you market analysis. Let's delete this. Market analysis. Let's write it out. And market analysis is the same as economic analysis. Economic analysis, and is simply the same as demand and supply analysis. is basically you try to find out what the demand is, you try to find out what the supply is, and then you find the effect of changes in demand and changes in supply. So again, you're already getting 5 analyses, but in reality, this is one and the same, and these 3 are the other. So we studied 2 types of analysis, and we got 5 different names for it. Okay, don't get confused. So, marginal resource, marginal revenue, and whatnot. Well, here's the thing. Because of the law of diminishing returns, the marginal revenue product of labor will begin to fall. So let's try to draw the picture here for you. Let's draw the picture. We did it before. At first, it grows very slowly, then it rises rapidly, and then it slows down and it turns negative. This is labor, and this is the quantity as a function of labor. At first, the product grows a little bit, okay, for one worker. For the second worker, it grows again, grows again, grows again, grows again. Now it begins to grow a lot, okay? And then it grows a lot, and then it grows a lot, and then it grows even more. And then it begins to slow down, okay? So, the marginal revenue product, if we use only this portion here, the efficient portion will, okay, I'll draw a picture here. Will be downward sloping. Again, early on is upward sloping and it's inefficient. You will not want to operate here. Because if you just move a little bit here, you could be making a lot more money, a lot more revenue, a lot more output, and a lot more profit. So you just won't be working here. You'll be working in this area. Well, this area is characterized by law of diminishing returns. And as you increase labor, you will be getting less marginal revenue product, MRP. MRP of labor. So your demand will, your marginal product will fall. Again, think of the simple shop where I got only one guy working in a tiny little supermarket. Or downstairs, they got like a coffee shop, cafeteria, right? And you got one person working, it can serve you well. 2 people will serve a lot better, but the marginal benefit of the second will be small. They can hire 3 people. The third person can clean, can do a whole bunch of things, but the marginal benefit will be even less. So the marginal benefit will fall with each worker. And now the question is, what about the cost? Yeah, you can hire a second employee at the same salary. You can hire a third employee at the same salary. You can hire a 4th employee at the same salary. So the marginal cost for the first will be the salary. The marginal cost for the second will be the same salary. The marginal cost for the third will be the same salary. So the marginal, how do I write it? Resource cost of labor. I can write it here, okay? Labor, okay? This is, in this case, is labor. In this case, is labor, okay? Is horizontal. In other words, you can hire 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people all at the same cost. Okay, so here in this case, this will, okay, more colors, more colors. Do I have more colors? Yes, I have. Here, this thing here is the profit, okay, kind of like profit. This is what you earn from the first employee, and this is what the first employee cost you. So this is the profit margin from one employee, and it's positive. For the second employee, if you hire two, you will profit from the first that much, and you'll profit from the second that much, and the profit from the second is positive. You are increasing your profits. You hire third, again, same thing, you're increasing your profit, but not as much. You hire the fourth person, now you make very little money out of it, okay? Well, you hire one more person, and it's going to be a loss. You hire one, you're going to be losing even more money. In other words, you're going to be paying them big salary, but there's no real benefit to it. Okay? So, you'll be hiring, just as I showed it on the picture here, based on the picture, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 is optimal. So you will be hiring up to this, which is L star, the optimal quantity of labor. And this is what the section 7.3 was. Optimal use of one resource. If the resource is labor, this is the optimal use. Okay. Again, this is a simple application of cost-benefit analysis. Okay. Example is, I'm looking for example, here when I go to Lulu, they have the Daiso shop. Daiso, you know, the Daiso shop, the cheap 7 dirham stuff. Okay. And I got in there 7 girls working. Well, they are hired. Usually 5 of them work all the time, and 2 of them are sleeping or taking a day off or whatever the story is. And when I spoke with the guy, says, well, I really don't need a use of 10. There's nothing for 10 of them to do. I said, well, what about 3? I said, no, 3 is not enough. I mean, they need to take days off, they need to take a break, they need to eat, they need to do this. And he says, I need 1 or 2 or 3 on the shelves, and I need 1 or occasionally 2 on the cash register. So the guy has in his mind calculated, correctly or incorrectly, he has calculated that he needs about 5 of them working all the time. He says he's got new goods coming in, so he'll need 1 or 2 of them to put in the price of the sticker. In other words, he keeps them busy, but he sees benefit. But when I ask him, what about 10? He says, no, that's way too much. I don't have enough work for 10. I mean, I don't want to pay them a salary with no benefit. Number 9, number 10 is just 0 benefit, okay? But still a cost, okay? So this is just a simple business application. So this is the marginal revenue cost of labor. This is page 283. Page 283, figure 7.5. You can open your books to take a look at it. Now, in the textbook, they say, oh, the optimal is 3.5 units, 3.5 workers. This means that you can have 3 workers full-time and 1 worker half-time. If you can't have a half-time, then 3 workers is okay. 4 workers, now you're losing money. Okay, so now I want to do one extra piece which is part of microeconomics, not part of managerial economics, which is amazingly simple. Suppose that for some reason, could be exchange rate, could be government regulation, could be changes in the market out in the Philippines, whatever the story is, wages increase. And they increase by some percent. So I'm going to draw a new line, now in red color, and this is the, remember, this here represents the marginal cost of labor, and the marginal cost of labor was equal to the wage. Okay? And now the wage increases with a red color. This is the new wage. What can we say? Now we call this 1/3 analysis, static analysis. One variable changes, all the other variables remain the same. Now the question is this: if the wage increases, what will happen to the optimal quantity of labor? So I will write the relationship as follows. If the wage goes up, what happens to L star?
Go down.
Yes, so if this is the new price in red color, new L star will fall. So the L star will fall. And this is, again, one of the fundamental business relationship and business is that demand for labor falls as wages increase. Of course, if their salary goes up, you'll just hire a few less. Instead of hiring 7, you can hire 6, just common sense. But this is the how in economics you show and you derive this to be true for all types of labor. Low skilled, middle skilled, as well as high skilled. Okay, this is good enough? Okay, this completes my section. Yes, question?
What can be the question for that one? Can you ask questions?
Okay. Well, what here is how is optimal quantity of labor derived? How do we get it? How do we receive or get or derive optimal quantity of labor? Okay. Now, a different way of saying is, what is marginal revenue product of labor? What is the marginal resource cost of labor? And what is the optimal quantity of labor? Let me take a look again. Yes, the marginal revenue, the marginal cost. Now, a different formulation of a question is apply marginal analysis, okay, or cost-benefit analysis to optimum quantity of labor. This star means optimum, okay? This is the quantity which maximizes profits. Again, it's 3 or 4 different variations, but the question is still the same. I can't make many questions, and I don't expect many, and you shouldn't expect. It's the same basic idea, is to argue that because of the law of diminishing returns, the marginal revenue product of labor will be declining, while because of the labor market, the cost will be flat, okay? So, now this cost could be rising if you try to hire extremely competent chief executive officers, and they're extremely rare in the world. In other words, a world-class expert to run a major airline. And you don't have many of these, okay? If you want to hire 2 of them, it's going to be tough. You understand? You got to raise the salary a lot to hire 2 world-class experts to run an airline. But you don't have a problem hiring people for Daiso at the supermarket, or the car repair shop, or the auto shop, or the hair salon shop, okay? For these, the marginal cost is flat. Okay, more questions? Or